When the human race was first recognized by the Galactic Council, not much was taught of them. Basic tolerance to both heat and cold, and a decent power to weight ratio. The only thing mildly impressive about them was that they were one of the few non-apex predator species to rise to sentience, much less to the space age. However, in saying that they were considered a species lacking in any amounts of honor, a death of even one of their leaders would spark a war of succession, lasting for years in a sense. They are certainly not the worst species in the galaxy, but they are a far cry from the best. The Traxi were the first galactic race to consider exploiting the weakness of humans, thus they waited for the inevitable spark that would lead to all of human civilization, to blood and war. 27 years after being recognized by the Council, that spark the Traxi waited so long for raged into an all-encompassing inferno that engulfed the entirety of the human race. The images that came out of the first week of conflict still haunt me. I don't know how a race can practice such death on its own people. There was no compassion, no honor, just the cold calculation of slaughter. When the human conflict was entering its twilight stages, the Traxi struck. Millions of Traxi troops and battleships poured into human-controlled territory owned by one. Their planets fell, and in the millions the humans died. The rest of the galaxy turned away. The humans were on the brink of annihilation, and no one wanted a part in that. Some even helped with the Traxi invasion with provisions and weaponry in return for conqueror human territory. The human race was at its end. However, instead of fading gently into extinction, the humans did. Some Athensian comprehends the united years of animosity and hatred gone in mere weeks. People who not 3 months ago pledged to the slaughter of one another, no greeted each other as brothers. The once unstoppable Traxi advance grinded to a halt after conquering almost 73% of human territory. In 6 weeks they now failed to push another light year. After 8 months of conflict, the Traxi has done something extremely dangerous. They had given humanity a common enemy. 2 years after the Traxi-human conflict began, the unthinkable started to happen. Traxi were being pushed back. The Traxi media claimed it to be a strategic move to cause huge human casualties. That may have been true. The humans might have been us using enormous amounts of resources to gain back control of their territories. However, once recovered, it was never retaken, as explained to me by a colleague of mine. The humans would, as they say, simply dig in an insane concepto. Simply sit on reconquered territory and let the Terai come to them, and Comethi did the Traxi, battered the human lines again and again and again. Then just when it looked like the humans were content with the territory they had retaken, they launched massive counter-offensives that forced the Traxi into yet another scrambling retreat, a truly insane tactic. And yet it was working out to be a brutally effective method of war. The Traxi would not admit then, and probably never will, they were losing. 6 years have now passed since the beginning of what is now the largest war in 500 years of galactic history. The Council had assumed that the humans would cease hostilities once all conquered. Human territory was back in human hands. The Council, of course, had assumed wrong. Not only did the humans not stop hostilities once all of their territory was retaken, for all intents and purposes it appeared that the humans wanted to erase the threat to their species. No more than that, the humans wanted blood. They wanted revenge for the human blood on Traxi hands, and nothing will get in their way. In one of the most ridiculous twists of fate, the Traxi were now fighting for their right to exist. The Council, in a state of panic, called for an emergency peace talk between the humans and the Traxi. To everyone's surprise, that humans agreed this. The first ceasefire since the outbreak of war was implemented. Turo-human and the 9-member Council races for peace talks. The discussion broking for peace went well. The humans, again surprised, they helped themselves well and spoke with reason and understanding to the Council race. However, they steadfastly refused to engage with the Traxi. Looking back, it might have been a sign of things to come. However, at the time I thought I'd understandable, as I was part of the diplomatic mission. I had hopes that an end to the conflict would be close. And that was until the discussion of reimbursement was brought up by the Traxi, as was their right as the conquered party to demand equal monetary compensation for any of their land still held by human forces at the signing of the treaty, the entirety of human party fell silent as they heard the Treaty ambassador first speak of it. Finally, after some time, one of their members spoke up. Please tell me this is some kind of joke to commemorate the start of peace. The member for China spoke up, of course. Not it is their right to ask of that, and it is your duty to complete to not do so. As simply the member for Chennai paused for a moment in comprehensions. The human party fell silent. Yet again the leader of the human party stood and stated calmly, you will have our answer within the hour. Without another word, he left the room, followed wordlessly by the entire human party. The council, pleased with the outcome of the talks, all sighed with relief. It appeared that the humans were willing to back off, and so we waited for the humans to respond with an acceptance of Piacito II on the hour. The council received a human message. It was the human leader. For several seconds, all I could see on the vid screen was the human as he simply sat staring at us with a peculiar look, not talking, not moving, simply looking. Blasted human emotions. The member for Chennai suddenly stated, so goddamn hard to read. Computer identify emotion. The computer chimed to indicate it had completed its analysis. Emotion identified barely contained Ray. The human leader abruptly spoke over the top of the computer. My dear council members, he turned to smile at the Traxi member for the Traxi. I regret to inform you that we cannot accept the terms for peace as they stand. Within an instant, there was silence for the first time since the start of peace talks. Still smiling at the Traxi member, however, we are willing to compromise. A Traxi soldier suddenly burst into the room. So the human ships are on the move. The vid screen cut into two. Half on the human leader, the other showed the Traxi home world surrounded by the entire human armada. The Traxi member spluttered, turned to speak with the human leader. What, how, when did you do this? The human leader just continued to smile and without warning the human armada penned fire. Within seconds, thousands of years worth of Traxi culture was incinerated, billions of innocent dead before they could comprehend the furor falling them. One of the greatest empires in the galaxy was simply no more. Reno. One move, no one spoke. Even Thetrax's brief was soundless. The human leader spoke up again. As you can see, we have decided to compromise. 16 billion of me fellow humans have died since the outbreak of this conflict. Every honored stunned to look at the human leader trying to take in the immense loss of life. I feel that trading 10 billion INOC TXI for 16 billion innocent humans is a more than fair compromise. Even I could tell the word compromise was laced with venom and scorn. The human leader continued. As a race, we are now open to any negotiation of peace. Are you insane? Roared the member from Chennai. You have just declared war on the entire Galactic Council. Peace? This is as far from peace that any being can achieve. There will be no peace until your Villa race is wiped out from even the memories of my grandchildren. The human leader turned his still smiling face to the member of Chennai. Good. The human leader no longer attempted to contain the raga pouring from his eyes. I was hoping ya would say that 14 days have passed since the Traxi human war ended. There was no peace treaty, no surrender, no ceasefire on side, simply did not have a people anymore. It has been a long 14 days since the Galactic Council declared war on the humans. 4 council races have defected from the council, all of them disgraced at the council's initial inaction and lack of prevention of human loss of life. Eat the opening stages of the TXI human war. All 4 of the defecting race voted to stop the Traxi when they first began to show an interest in the humans, all bullied into inaction by the Chenu. It's unthinkable that 4 races have defected from the council. But then again, this is the first time in 570 years that the council is at war, and not since its formation has it been at war with itself. Humans in 34 years they have torn down millennia worth of tradition, cooperation, understanding. Oi mate, grinned my new friend sitting next to me, waking me from a daydream. He was absently picking his nails with a metallic close combat weapon. Not having second thoughts on mere you, I grinned back. Not on your life, me friend. This will be the first time in nearly 600 years that the Anorak have been to war. I looked to my friend sitting next to me, and my grin broadened. No, my friend, on the cont, it has been much too long. This shall be fun. His grin burst into an all-out laugh. Just stay live long enough, and I'll show you how to cook the perfect steak. I shook my head at him. Humans truly insane.